Soy, is it good for you? Whole soy foods are great for you. How does it relate to breast cancer? So much myth and spin. It makes me crazy. And people that know nutrition. So whole soy foods, let's think about that. Whole soy foods come from soybeans, and they are a bean. And if you've taken my courses, which most all of you have, there may be a few extra guests on here, then you know how great beans are for your health. And soybeans, amongst all the beans, if you look at their specific nutritional profile, like the vitamins, the minerals, the healthy fats they have, the protein, all that kind of stuff, they really are the top, right? And whole soy foods, I'm not talking soy supplements, I'm not talking about soy powders. Whole soy foods, which are soy milk, tofu, tempeh, edamame, right? And then there's soy paste, miso. Um, those things are made from those soybeans. So they're extraordinarily nutritious, complete plant protein. But beyond that, there are very unique phytochemicals in whole soy foods. And there was this, you know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, really now, there was this sort of hypothetical concern because some of those phytochemicals can function in the body like weak estrogens. Like, oh my gosh, maybe they could, feed estrogen sensitive breast cancer cells. Well, the reality is we now see the total opposite. Okay. And it makes sense because the estrogens that are in, or the estrogen-like compounds that are in soy, they bind to the estrogen receptors, but they don't really do anything. But yet they're binding, which means the potent flippin' estrogen that women have in their own bodies can't bind to that receptor and do its dirty work. Particularly for women that have excessively high levels of estrogen, and people in America do. Women in America have amongst the highest levels of estrogen in any country around. And another thing to think about is, do you know the countries that had the highest intake of soy? So it's these Asian countries, particularly the Japanese, right? I mean, when I say they eat so much, I'm talking 15 to 20 times more than the average American. Japanese women rarely die of breast cancer. It's so rare in Japan, right? And their rates of getting breast cancer per capita are way less than America. So that should at least give you comfort. But beyond that, they've done clinical trials. They've taken breast cancer survivors, all different countries, and they've measured urine isoflavone levels. And that is a really reliable proxy. That's metabolite. If you eat a soy food, they can pick up on that by measuring these urinary isoflavone levels, right? And they saw in the study, breast cancer survivors that had the most had the longest survivorship. So my sister died of breast cancer. My mother is a breast cancer survivor, and I include whole soy foods as part of a balanced diet. I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to go crazy and eat, 10 soy foods a day. That's not balance. But I bet I have, several servings a week, whether it's tofu, tempeh, soy milk. I don't have a habit of eating edamame, but I love it. Right. So it's not something we are worried about. If anything, it's the opposite. Now, we do think that the key to the Asian countries having this protection is because they've had lifelong high intakes of soy. So one thing I don't want women to think is, oh, that you can start doing a lot of soy in your 40s or 50s, and then it's probably really going to help, make a big difference for your breast cancer risk. It probably is not, because the seeds for those cancers are sown very early in life. And it's likely lifelong exposure. I mean, they're getting exposed in the womb because their mother is eating it. If you've ever watched Japanese eat, I mean, they have like miso. It's like part of every dang meal, like before they have their meal. Even the little kids do. Anyway, so, and we also think that it depends on your microbiome. So if you have not eaten a lot of whole soy food, you don't necessarily have these bacteria that do all this great stuff to it to make it, produce these more favorable anti-cancer compounds. But the point is, whole soy foods are healthy. They are incredibly nutritious. And they are fine to be included as part of a balanced diet. Now, if someone has got breast cancer, and I always tell people to follow what your doctor says. But if you're told by your oncologist, I would do your own research and then confront him or her with that research, because sometimes they don't necessarily know the latest in nutrition.